Yo, what up guys? d-cellgaming here, back with some final gear. And today I want to talk a little bit more about Amane Serika and whether I think she's really worth it or not. I picked up her custom mech and I'm going to build her up and run some tests. That way we can really see, are you missing anything by not getting her? Are you missing out? Or, is she really worth it? Is she worth the $50? I want to try to answer these questions. And, since we do have about 2 more weeks of this event, I really kind of want to do a more in-depth guide on the event character herself. So without further delay, let's get right into it. Alright, and as we get started here, I just want to say I'm not going to be comparing her to Viola or Schmilly, even though those are the more direct one-to-one comparisons to make, as they are all healing support, and Serika is not really a damage support unit. She is by far and away a healing support unit. However, I think the more practical standpoint to compare her with is going to be support units like Elizabeth, Snowy, or Natasha, and that's because the vast majority of you guys out there are probably running 2 DPS as support and a damage mitigation. So it's probably looking something like Elizabeth Solveig with 2 DPS, or Liangle Snowy with 2 DPS, something like that. Because in this game, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now, you're going to get more mileage out of focusing on your damage and your damage mitigation first. So you're going to get more out of the end game if you get your 1 damage dealer and 1 really good mitigation like Solveig or Liangle or even Eloise, because the game is designed around doing high numbers very quickly. So all you need to do is get through the stage. So even if your characters are at 10% HP at the end of the stage, that's good enough. That's all the mitigation you need. You don't really need to throw healing in there. So from a practical standpoint, you're probably going to be looking at swapping out your Serika for an Elizabeth or a Snowy. So those are the 2 most popular damage support units, and those are who I'm going to compare Serika with today. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Serika here. That way I can show you what she looks like. She's not great. She's not the strongest. I do like her custom mech. I think it looks really cool looking, and her attack, she has these laser attacks that kind of home. Overall it just looks pretty good. So as you can see, she's not super strong. She's only right around 73,000 strength there. She's got some HP chips. I got everything to level 60 and augment level 1. Also, if we want to look at her skills, we have her at 5-4-1-5. My idea behind this Serika build is to try to build a Serika that most players should be able to have once they clear this event, and I think this is pretty reasonable to expect. You should be able to get 2 skills to level 5 and then 1 skill to level 4. With Serika, it's very important that you get her high gear all the way to level 5 with her custom mech. That way she gets that 20% healing, and you really need to get her last skill to level 5 as well, because that's going to very much offset her energy gain, and it's going to make that 9,000 energy cost seem like it's only about 5,000. Now the 2 middle skills, skill 2 and 3, it really kind of depends on your preference. I think skill 2 is a little more important because it's going to boost everybody's HP and you can get higher numbers out of the HP. However, the skill 3 will reduce all damage taken. Alternatively, you could do 2 and 3 or 3 and 2, something like that. And obviously if you can get all to level 5, that's what you would want to shoot for, and you're probably going to end up having her at 5-star at the end. I highly doubt most players are going to be able to get a 6-star Serika. And for her talents, I left her at talent level 3 because this is how many sequences you can buy from the event shop. Now yes, you can go further into this talent tree if you go into the sequence shop and buy them there, and I have 31 sequences, but I'm not going to waste them on Serika because on all honesty, she doesn't really need higher talents. However, again, this video is more about what is your Serika gonna look like from a reasonable and practical standpoint once you get this event over. So this is my whole build concept around my Serika, and what I'm going to be comparing her to is my Solveig, which is quite a bit stronger. She's got about 113,000. She is 5-star. She's got all level 5 skills, and she's talented level 8. So do keep that in mind when I go to compare later on in the video. My Solveig is very built, but again, this will be important later. It's not that big of a difference because she's really there for support. And of course, the other person that I'm going to be, going against is Elizabeth. So she has all of her skills at level 3, and her talent level is, I think, identical. Yeah, it's identical to Serika. Keep in mind that Elizabeth will perform much better at talents level 5 and 8 because she's going to be able to get out more piano stack sounds like quicker. So do keep that in mind. However, I think this is all pretty reasonable, and we can come up with some good assumptions on how they're going to work, based on this information. Okay, so how I'm going to run this test is I'm going to use the hell difficulty Kobayashi because I can't quite clear the hell Kobayashi yet with my team. I can get around a maximum of about 90% damage with my very best setup. Kobayashi is a little bit more RNG. She can stun and she can do very big single target damage. So I can clear hell difficulty on like solar, for example, because of my snowy. So I don't want to play to the strengths of my snowy. I wanted to try to, have a more neutral background for the characters. So do keep in mind, this is going to nerf like Snowy's main damage support of ignoring defense a little bit, but I did that on purpose because I don't want, to have my Snowy seemingly super overshadow these two really good units. Talking about Snowy, here's my main team, my team number 1. Ren, Caloru, Snowy, and Liangle. And as you can see, this is the best one that I could get. I did a bunch of different stages to try to get as much, like as high of a damage as possible, and this is what I was able to get with this team. Almost 90% damage and just under 54 million. And as you can see, my Ren is doing significantly more damage as Snowy is going to buff the Ren, gonna buff Ren the most. Yo, D-Cell from the future here. While I was editing this video, I was able to get a full clear with Snowy, but do keep in mind this is with a talent level 8, and it did take a lot of instances of running Hell Kobayashi before I was able to get a full clear. Out of all of the tests that I running Snowy seemed pretty consistent. There was a 50 to 60% chance that all of my team survived. And so I was able to get much more consistent damage numbers. The damage numbers ranged between, right around 45 million to about 54 million. So it was all, pretty consistent. Next up on this is going to be Elizabeth. So throwing Elizabeth in this mix, we're gonna say that actually my Ren had even more damage done with this as well, so this was interesting to see. I expected the damage to be more even. However, with Elizabeth, the damage was wildly inconsistent, and I believe that's because Elizabeth really needs both DPS on the field to really buff them. Snowy, her damage can be pretty consistent because she's focusing only on buffing one unit at a time anyway. So if one of them dies, it's not that big of a deal. However, if one of them dies with Elizabeth on the field, that your damage is almost cut in half. So my damage numbers ranged from anywhere between 25 million if I got really unlucky, all the way up to, almost the numbers I was putting out with Snowy. But I do believe she has the highest damage potential of the three because she buffs everyone on the team and doesn't just focus on one person. However, this is against a person who doesn't have a lot of defense. Obviously, somebody with really high defense you're going to want to run Snowy with, but I think overall, on the overall level, Elizabeth probably has the highest damage potential, because keep in mind she's not getting her piano stacks out very quickly because I only have her at talent level 3. So at talent level 5 or 8, if I had her right neck and neck with Snowy, we would probably be seeing actual clears here instead of comparable numbers. And then we go on to Amane Serika here, and so you can see with her the damage numbers are actually lower. However, they were much more consistent with what I would expect a healing support to be. I had about a 90% chance for all of my characters to stay alive because her healing was so good. So the damage was very consistent. It all ranged from about, I would say, about 43, 44 to almost 48 million. So even though the damage was lower, it was much more consistent. The only time my damage would go below the 20 million range or something like that would when it was super unlucky and both of my DPS got stunned and one shot. But that was very, very rare to have with Serika on the team, especially paired with Liangle. But again, this goes on to what I was saying. She's not really a damage support. She is much more a healing support. So with that in mind, I decided to do some more tests on the heroic level and see what we got. So at the heroic level, Snowy performed a lot better than I thought she was going to do. We did just about 20 million on this, so 20% damage on the heroic Kobayashi fight. So this was actually surprising, and as you can see, it's interesting because my Ren died early on this one and Kaoru was doing all of the damage. But yeah, this was the best heroic clear I could get with Snowy. Now the best heroic clear I could get with Elizabeth was way worse, only about 11.6 million. There just wasn't enough time for her to get any piano stacks out. There wasn't really time for anyone to do anything, and yeah, everybody died pretty quickly. So yeah, that was pretty much to be expected. However, the interesting thing here is with Serika in the team, the heroic damage actually went up, and that's because all of my team was able to survive for much longer periods. So as you can see, I had almost 26 million damage, or right around 20% of the damage done on heroic Kobayashi. So yeah, you can clearly see Serika is going to shine when you need and actually need healing support. If your characters are clearing content without the need of a healer, Amane is actually going to bring your numbers down. But if you need that survivability, she can actually pull it up. So what are my final thoughts on Serika? Honestly, her high gear comes out a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. That skill number 5, once it's at level 5 with her custom mech, it actually builds very fast. I was really surprised that her high gear came very quickly. Now, one little gripe about her high gear, it just feels like it drags on. I don't really know why, but it just feels like it takes forever. Like the animation it's just, I don't know, maybe a second or two long. Not sure what it is. It just feels awkward to use. Her damage support isn't very high. In fact, she provides pretty much very little damage support, but her healing support is really good. And right off the bat, she's probably going to be your best healer that you have, because you probably haven't had enough time to build Schmilly yet, and Viola is not going to be nearly as strong until she gets her UR. So, you know, was it worth it? Is her custom mech worth $50? Are you missing out by not getting Serika? I don't think so, honestly. She doesn't have a UR upgrade. Both Schmilly and Viola are going to be getting UR upgrades in the future, so Serika is less, like, I guess, future proof, if you want to say that. So not having a UR, and eventually she'll be overshadowed anyway, and most of the time you're not really going to be needing a healing support. You're not really going to be using a healer. You're going to be using somebody like Snowy or Elizabeth, or even Natasha, especially if you have Natasha's UR. So I don't really think you're missing out on much if you don't get the custom mech. I don't necessarily think it's worth it. At the end of the day, I really think Serika is a very strong healing support, maybe even S tier when it comes to support class characters, but she's eventually going to kind of fall off since she doesn't have a UR. So I really, at the end of the day, I don't think you're missing out on much. But hey guys, that's going to be it for today. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on Serika? What are some other videos or characters you would like me to do an in-depth guide, and we'll do a spotlight on them. If you've made it this far in the video, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more content like this in the future. Also, I have some extra links down below. If you guys want to throw some extra support my way, you can donate for as small as $1. And the top 3 donors, what I'm going to do is, you know, I'll give you guys a shout out on my next video, and also thank you personally on the next video. But yeah, I would love to make content creation full time. I would love to, you know, do YouTube and you know, maybe even stream full time and cover more gacha games, and, you know, cover games like Final Gear as well. Have a great day, guys. Be safe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.